The sky began to bleed the day the Vyntari arrived. Not blood, but something worse. A slow seep of iridescent dust that clung to rooftops and eyelashes, glinting like crushed galaxies under the sun. At first, scientists called it a cosmic anomaly, a rogue meteor's residue. Then the dust started moving. It pooled in shadowed corners, coalescing into shapes too fluid to be human, too deliberate to be chance. By the time the first magnate died, throat slit by a blade of crystallized air, the world had already swallowed the lie that this was anything but a reckoning. The Vyntari left no footprints, only whispers. Fishermen in dead zones swore they walked on water, their ozone-blue skin rippling like oil spills. Children in smog-choked cities drew chalk figures with too many joints, chanting rhymes about the breath that steals tomorrows. Governments buried footage, but the dust could not be scrubbed. It lingered in lungs, in soil, in the static between radio waves, humming a dirge only the doomed could hear. They were not invaders, they did not conquer. They simply unmade, erasing key figures from boardrooms and summits with surgical precision, their motives opaque as the amber haze choking the atmosphere. Some called them eco-terrorists from a rival state, others ghosts of a planet's vengeance. But in the quietest hours, when the domed cities shuddered under acid rains, even the skeptics wondered, what if they're not from here at all? And the sky kept bleeding. Chapter 1. The air tasted like rust. Soren Veit leaned against the balcony railing, squinting through the dome's smog filters at the amber haze that passed for sky. Below, the skeletal remains of a mangrove forest jutted from the bay, their roots clawing at the sludge-black water. The climate summit's attendees floated through the atrium in biosilk suits, their laughter sharp and brittle, the sound of people pretending the world wasn't a funeral pyre. Soren's wrist comp buzzed, another notification from the World Ecological Coalition. Urgent assignment, priority alpha. He silenced it. Urgency had lost its meaning decades ago. Inside, holograms of glacial collapse played on loop, their icy blue light washing over the crowd. Soren lingered by a display of 21st-century oil rigs, their derrick arms frozen mid-pump like the bones of extinct giants. A server drone offered him a glass of algae wine. He declined. The drink's neon green shimmer reminded him of the bioluminescent jellyfish that now choked the Baltic, their silent blooms a requiem for dead coral. A scream fractured the air. Soren turned. Near the stage, a figure stood over the body of Arden Krell, the magnate's throat split open like overripe fruit. The assassin's skin glowed faintly, translucent and ozone-blue, their limbs elongated in a way that bent the light. For a heartbeat, Soren thought it a hologram malfunction. Then the creature moved, a flicker of impossible speed, and the crowd erupted. Security drones swarmed, taser beams slicing the air. The assassin phased through a wall, leaving a trail of iridescent dust. Soren crouched beside Krell's body. The man's eyes were wide, his fingers curled around a gold pendant of Saint Barbara, patron saint of miners. Blood seeped into the carpet, its copper stench mingling with the summit's jasmine air fresheners. Soren's hand hovered over the iridescent residue on Krell's lapel. It shimmered under the lights, 1,000 fractured rainbows trapped in ash. Temporal displacement signature, his mind whispered, an old thesis resurfacing. Artifacts from paradoxes. A gloved hand gripped his shoulder. Dr. Veit. The WEC agent's mask hid her face, but her voice was sandpaper rough, the kind forged in wildfire zones. You're needed. Location, WEC black site, 30 kilometers offshore. The submersible descended through layers of murk, first the sickly yellow of the upper ocean, then the void black of the dead zones. Soren pressed his forehead to the viewport, watching bioluminescent bacteria pulse like dying stars. The WEC agent, Agent Wren, had said nothing since the summit. Her silence was a blade. The black site loomed ahead, a concrete scar on the seabed. Inside, the walls dripped with condensation, the air thick with the reek of recycled oxygen. They led him to a lab where Krell's body lay under UV light. The iridescent dust on his corpse now glowed violently, a galaxy condensed to a pinprick. "You published a paper," Wren said, "on temporal residue in pre-collapse folklore, the dust of regret, you called it." Soren's throat tightened. The paper had been dismissed as pseudoscience, the tenure committee's laughter still ringing in his ears. "Folktales," he said, "superstition from the last generation." Wren activated a hologram. Footage of the assassin flickered, a gaunt humanoid with that same ozone-blue sheen dissolving into mist. "This is the fourth killing. Rio, Cairo, Mumbai, all oil and coal heirs, all dust at the scene." She tossed him a data chip. "Tell me the superstition is real." The chip contained security feeds, radiation logs, spectral analyses. Soren's fingers trembled as he cross-referenced the residue's quantum signature: non-localized decay, entropic inversion. The equations spiraled, a language he had thought dead. "They're not from here," he said. "The residue, it's from a timeline with different physics, a closed loop." Wren's mask tilted. "Explain." "They're time travelers, but not our future. A branch. Their world is," he gestured to the blacksite walls, the ocean pressing in. "This, but worse. They're here to erase the source of their suffering." "Can you track them?" Soren touched the UV lamp. The dust fluoresced, its glow searing his retinas. "They're made of this. It clings to them, under the right light." "Find them," Wren said, "before they rewrite history into something we can't survive." Location: abandoned hydrofarm, Mekong Delta. Rain fell in sheets, acidic enough to blister skin. Soren's hazmat suit creaked as he waded through the hydrofarm's corpse, a labyrinth of shattered glass and mutant kelp. The WEC's sensors had picked up residual quantum signatures here, a faint echo of the assassin's dust. His UV torch flickered. Patches of iridescence clung to the walls, guiding him deeper. The air grew colder, his breath fogging the visor. At the farm's heart, a vaulted chamber stretched into shadows, its ceiling strung with the husks of automated harvesters. A figure stood by a dead algae tank, their back to him. Translucent skin, ozone-blue. Soren's pulse roared. He fumbled for the shock pistol Wren had given him. The creature turned. Its face was humanoid but hollow, eyes like smoked glass. "You are the historian." The voice came from a translator box on its chest, toneless and mechanical. Soren froze. "You speak English." "We studied your era, the inflection points." They gestured to the hydrofarm. "This place once fed millions. Now it feeds nothing. You let the saltwater reclaim it. Let the poisons win." "Who are you?" "Vyntari, the last breath." Their fingers brushed the algae tank, stirring dust. "In our timeline, your greed birthed a cure worse than the disease. You pumped the skies full of reactive oxygen, a desperate fix. It stripped the flesh from your bones. We are what remained." Soren's mind flashed to his thesis, the dust of regret, said to carry the whispers of unborn futures. "You're here to stop the collapse, by killing the ones who caused it." "By severing the root." The Vyntari tilted their head. "You found our data log, you know what comes." Soren's wrist comp projected the hologram he had decoded, a Vyntari city, its towers crumbling under a hyperoxygenated storm. "Your collapse began in 2150, decades after Krell's death. You're not preventing your apocalypse, you're causing it." The Vyntari went still. "The assassinations destabilized our energy transition," Soren pressed. "The fossil barons' successors panicked. They sabotaged geoengineering projects, hoarded resources. Your suffering began because you came back." For the first time, the Vyntari's voice wavered. "Impossible, our models." "We're wrong." Soren stepped closer, the shock pistol forgotten. "You're caught in a paradox. You have to stop." The Vyntari raised a hand. Dust swirled around them, sharp and bright. "We are the last breath. We do not stop, we do not hope. They dissolved, leaving Soren alone in the Hydra Farm's corpse. Location: WEC Archives, Arctic Circle. 3 days later, Soren hunched over a quantum mainframe in the archive's belly, a vault buried under permafrost. The Vyntari data log glowed on the screens, its code a tangled knot of cause and effect. Ren had ordered him to find a weakness, a way to erase the Vyntari from the timeline. He scrolled through 21st century corporate records, Krell's emails, boardroom transcripts, the birth of the Carbon Purge Accords. A name surfaced: Lyra Torvak, CEO of Vectral Energy, pioneer of fusion reactors. In the Vyntari timeline, she had been assassinated next. A notification blinked, an encrypted file buried in Krell's servers. Soren decrypted it, his breath fogging the cold air. Video footage: a younger Krell shaking hands with Torvak. The fusion deal goes through, Krell said, and we bury solar for good. The world will need oil to bridge the gap. Torvak's smile was a scalpel, a bridge to nowhere. Soren leaned back, the pieces shifted. Krell wasn't just a villain, he was a cog. The Vyntari war was against ghosts, against shadows. He opened the Vyntari data log again. Hidden beneath layers of code, a single audio file, a child's voice distorted by static. I drew a bird today. Teacher says they're all gone. Will the new air bring them back? The archive's heaters hummed. Soren closed his eyes, the child's voice echoing. Outside, the ice groaned, a planet slowly suffocating. Chapter 2. Location: WEC Arctic Archives, 2099 CE. The cold here was different. It didn't bite, it gnawed. Soren Veit sat in the archive's glow, the hum of quantum mainframes a dirge beneath the ice. Frost crept across the viewport like lace, framing the void beyond, a world bleached of color, reduced to the ashen palette of perpetual twilight. The child's voice from the data log still lingered, a ghost in his skull. Will the new air bring them back? He traced the hologram of Lyra Torvak's fusion blueprints, her face sharp and unyielding as the equations that had birthed her reactors. They called it the Carbon Purge Accords, a last-ditch pact between oil dynasties and cleantech oligarchs, a marriage of desperation and opportunism. Soren scrolled through Torvak's encrypted memos, her words clinical, devoid of the fervor that had once fueled solar revolutions. Fusion is the bridge, she had written, but bridges can be burned. He wondered if she knew how literal that would become. A shadow flickered at the edge of his vision. Yaleth stood in the doorway, their ozone-blue skin dulled by the archive's sterile light. They had followed him here, a specter haunting his steps. No demands, no threats, just silence. Soren had stopped flinching at their presence. There was a kinship in futility. You waste time, Yaleth's translator intoned. The mechanical voice grated, a reminder of the gulf between them. You wasted centuries, Soren said, not looking up, killing the wrong people. The Vyntari drifted closer, their form rippling like heat haze. We followed the equations, the inflection points. Equations don't bleed, they don't panic. Soren gestured to Torvak's hologram. She is next. Your people will kill her and her reactors die with her. Then what? Your paradox deepens. Ours accelerates. Yaleth's gaze fixed on the child's audio file, still looping. You think sentiment will alter calculus. I think you're here. That's not calculus. That's doubt. The mainframe beeped a security alert. WEC agents inbound. Ren's authorization revoked. Soren shut down the terminal. The ice groaned, a bass note trembling through the floor. They'll bury us here, he muttered, or throw us to the Vyntari purists. Yaleth's hand hovered over the data port, their fingers scattering iridescent dust. You have a destination. Soren pocketed the fusion schematics. The Sahara, where Torvak's reactors were supposed to save us. And did they? Ask your equations. Location, Sahara Fusion Wasteland, 2099 CE. The dunes were glass now. Centuries of solar concentration experiments had melted the sand into jagged plains, a kaleidoscope of fractured light. Soren's transport skimmed the surface, its shadow a black scar over the shimmer. Yaleth sat motionless beside him, their form flickering with static, a glitch in reality. They passed the husk of a solar farm, its mirrors shattered silver shards jutting like the ribs of some colossal beast. Beyond it, the fusion plant rose, a skeletal tower crowned with dormant coils, its outline warped by heat. Soren remembered the ribbon-cutting ceremony decades ago. Torvak had worn a suit of recycled ocean plastic, her speech peppered with words like legacy and horizon. Now the horizon was a mirage, wavering under the weight of poisoned air. Inside the plant, decay reigned. Rust gnawed at the reactor core, and the stench of ionized metal clung to the walls. Soren's boots crunched over discarded hazard suits, their visors cracked. He paused at a faded mural, earth whole and blue, cradled in hands of steel. The artist had signed it in the corner, for the birds. Yaleth halted, their head tilted. They are close. The purists. They call themselves the unbound. They reject reevaluation. A pause, the translator stuttering. They will cleanse this place. Soren activated his UV torch. Iridescent dust marked the walls, leading deeper into the reactor's belly. You can still turn back. There is no back, Yaleth said, only through. The dust thickened, glowing like phosphorus in the beam. It led to a chamber where the air hummed with residual fusion energy, the hairs on Soren's arms standing erect. In the center stood a Vyntari terminal, its interface pulsing with alien glyphs. A beacon, Yaleth murmured. They plan to draw the unbound here, to make a stand. Soren studied the glyphs. Can you decode it? It is a confession and a plea. Yaleth's fingers brushed the terminal. Dust swirled, forming holograms of Vyntari children, translucent, their eyes too large. They sing the same lullaby, of air that burns, of lungs that crystallize. You know. We were taught it was myth, a morality tale. And now, Yaleth's form dimmed. Now I hear the cracks in the song. A noise echoed through the chamber, scraping metal. Soren doused the light. Shadows moved at the periphery, elongated and ozone-blue. Location, abandoned solar array, Sahara wasteland. They ran, the unbound gave chase, their forms flickering through walls, voices a chorus of distorted static. Soren's lungs burned, the air thick with charged particles. Yaleth pulled him into a derelict control room, its panels gutted, wires spilling like viscera. They will not stop, Yaleth said. The beacon has marked us. Soren crouched beneath a console, his fingers brushing a child's drawing wedged in the debris, a stick figure sun, a green scribble of grass. We need Torvak. Her reactors could stabilize the energy grid by time. Time is the infection, Yaleth snapped. We cut or we perish. You tried cutting, it killed you. The unbound's voices crescendoed. A blade of light seared the door. Yaleth seized Soren's arm, their touch frigid. There is a vault beneath the plant, corporate records sealed, proof of Torvak's complicity. Proof won't unkill Krell. No, Yaleth said, but it may birth a third path. Location, Vectral Energy Vault, Sahara Fusion Plant. The vault was a tomb, sealed in lead and regret. It housed Torvak's sins in neat rows. Soren pried open a server rack, its drives encased in permafrost gel. The holograms flared to life, board meetings, bribes, blueprints for solar suppression grids. Torvak's face filled the screen, her voice crisp. Fusion is the future, but the future must be controlled. Yalith watched their aura flickering. She is a root like Krell. She is a survivor like you. Soren ejected the drive. The unbound are coming. We need to move. Wait, Yalith pointed to a fragment of text buried in Torvak's personal logs. Entry 1292075, dreamt of the Arctic again, the ice screaming as it dies. Krell says we need to accelerate the drills. I sign the order. Let it be someone else's nightmare. Soren's throat tightened. Regret doesn't erase the act. No, Yalith said, but it fractures the equation. The vault door shuddered. The unbound's claws screeched against metal. Location, rooftop, Sahara fusion plant. Wind howled, carrying grit that stung like wasps. The unbound emerged from the stairwell, 6 pairs of smoked glass eyes glowing. Yalith stepped forward, their dust swirling in a protective helix. Stand aside, Yalith of the last breath. The lead unbound droned. The root must burn. You are the root, Yalith replied. Your certainty, your blindness. The unbound lunged. Soren fired his shock pistol, the blast scattering dust. Yalith grappled with their kin, forms merging and separating like liquid. Soren stumbled to the edge, the fusion coils below humming with latent energy. A hand gripped his ankle and unbound, its jaw unhinged, static screaming. Soren kicked, his boot connecting with glassine flesh. The creature teetered, then fell, dissolving into dust before it hit the coils. Yalith stood amid the chaos, their form fraying. Go, find Torvak. She is in Neo-Sydney, Soren shouted. The energy summit. Then run, now. Soren hesitated. The unbound closed in, their claws gleaming. Yalith met his gaze, their eyes flickering with something like resolve. The child's song, they said. Do not let it end here. Soren ran. Behind him, the rooftop erupted in light. Location, Neo-Sydney Skyspire, 2099 CE. The city hung suspended over the Pacific, its tethers groaning under the weight of refugee pods. Soren ascended via a service lift, the glass walls offering a panorama of decay, oil slicks blooming like ink, the carcass of a humpback whale trapped in plastic nets. Torvak's summit was a masquerade. Executives in carbon fiber masks sipped champagne, while holograms projected coral reefs onto dead ocean. Soren spotted her near the stage, her hair silver, her suit the color of ash. The shot came from above, a Vyntari purist rifle crackling with temporal energy. Soren lunged, tackling Torvak as the bolt seared the air. They crashed into a buffet table, algae caviar splattering like tar. Who the hell? Torvak snarled. They're here for you. Soren dragged her behind a pillar. Your fusion plans. They think killing you will save their future. Her laugh was bitter. Nothing saves anyone. The Vyntari descended, a storm of ozone and static. Soren pressed the data drive into her hand. Your logs, your regrets, use them. Torvak stared at the drive. Why? Because you're a bridge, and I'm tired of burning.
This story continues. Subscribe to our channel, like the video, and listen to the rest.